Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers on the broadcast today. It's an all Pundits show with Sam Kumar, Dan Mason, and Joe Guild for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers. 40 years ago, Hotel California and the theme from Rocky were #1 on the pop charts, and D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal started on the road to becoming Nevada's leading roofing company.
I couldn't be more proud of what we've achieved.
And over these 40 years, we've become an employee-owned company. So when you're talking to any employee, you're talking to an owner.
And here's to the next 40 years.
Happy 40th birthday, D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal.
Nearly 200,000 Nevadans work in retail businesses, supporting families and the community. Nevada's retail businesses generated over $2 billion in sales tax revenue in 1 year, including nearly $700 million to help our schools. Shop around and see all that Nevada's retailers offer our state.
We're the Retail Association of Nevada, representing thousands of Nevada businesses.
Businesses that work for Nevada.
ProGroup Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. ProGroup Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. ProGroup Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
Back on Nevada Newsmakers, we have an all-pundit show today. Really great cast with Sam Kumar, past chairman of the Washoe County Republicans, Dan Mason, who is the program director for News Talk 780 KOH, and attorney Joe Guild. Pleasure to have you all here. I want to talk about, some questions that are going to be huge over the next several years, not only in Northern Nevada, but across the state, but I want to focus on Northern Nevada. Joe, you were here, obviously, in 1978, watched what happened when the MGM opened and the other casinos opened. There was a boom and then a no-growth cycle. Are you concerned that we're seeing the no-growth cycle already pushing back in Northern Nevada?
Well, I'm not real intimately familiar with that. I would say no, I'm not concerned, and here's why. There was a political movement as a part of that no-growth cycle when Barbara Bennett was elected mayor, and I don't see that right now in Northern Nevada. I do see a pushback because of the growth problems associated with some of the things we're seeing, traffic, high rents, lack of facilities for homeless people, things like that. But I'm not too worried about it, to tell you the truth.
It was interesting. Barbara Bennett, I was here in town when Barbara Bennett was mayor. A lovely lady. She lived in a mobile home, drove a yellow RV. Her husband was at home on oxygen. How she got elected mayor, I have no idea. But she was a lovely lady. And then after her became Pete Sferrazza, who became famous as Pothole Pete for the money not put into things. But from your perspective, Dan, are you starting to see a pushback on the growth?
No. I don't know whether to be worried about that or not, because at some point it's got to reach, a crescendo. But my impression, I would agree with Joe, I don't necessarily see that pushback. We're just growing and we're going to keep growing. The challenge is how do we deal with it? And the housing and the things like that, that we've talked about, those are the big challenges. But no, based on everything we've done, I think if you believe in the diversification of our economy, we've done pretty well, and I think it's going to continue.
Sam?
I would agree with that assessment, because when you look at the economy as a nation, we have plenty of runway left. One, the labor participation rate is still pretty low, and the productivity hasn't started to spike up. So when those two things happen, growth will naturally happen. The next question is, where does that growth go? Obviously not to California. So it's going to be in more advantageous states where labor laws are not as stringent and anti-business. And Nevada right now is one of those. So I'm not concerned with it, but the growing pains are going to be there, like Joe alluded to. Homeless issues and a whole lot of other things that come with growth, high rents and infrastructure and all those things. But my guess is, if anything, the growth will move further out of Reno and into the surrounding areas, and maybe even out to Elko and places like that.
Do you see Elko as a growth area? Because, I mean, certainly mining is going to continue to expand in that region because of the new claims.
Yeah, I do see Elko as a growth area. There's been some new mines opened up in last year or two. I don't see the kind of growth associated with, the Reno Tahoe Industrial Park and the companies that are coming there. I don't see, maybe this is the wrong word, explosive growth in Elko, but I see steady growth there.
Everything is cyclical, so at a certain point, we are going to start to see a pushback. But I think that one of the things that's helped us to not have a pushback early is the recession, because so many people didn't have jobs, were losing their homes, that the opportunity for work has really been a benefit.
I think what we're going to see, in the future is more of this. The Elko question, for example, a lot's going to depend on lands bills. What ends up happening there? Is the federal government still going to control a lot of this? Are the environmentalists still going to have a lot to say about all of that? I'm very curious to see how that shakes out.
Joe, I'm going to come back to you on that. It is a fascinating battle to watch, and not a particularly pleasant one, between the environmental movement and the people who actually work the land here in Nevada.
Well, we're talking about they're literally the lands bill that Congressman Amodei and some others put forth has, I can't remember the exact number, but let's say it's 1 million acres. The private land base in Nevada right now is 10 million acres, about the size of Connecticut and Massachusetts combined. So we're talking about 1 million acres out of 64 million acres of land mass in the state of Nevada that these people are screaming about. And they're, I'm sorry, I'm going to get on a soapbox here, but the notion that public access will be denied and some of these other things they're saying is just wrong, Sam. And so Dan's got it right. That Highway 80 corridor on the Humboldt River, it won't grow unless there is some relief on the amount of checkerboard land that gets back into private hands, and it won't affect the public land access of one person. I can almost guarantee that.
Is that the response you're getting from your listeners too?
The environmental issue in all of this public lands discussion is from the far left, the radical environmentalists refuse to compromise, period. We don't want to talk to the other side. That's the issue, and I think that's annoying a lot of people who say, if you're just going to close your eyes and your ears and refuse to talk to the other side, why should we listen to what you want?
And for those that are not aware, there is a fabulous magazine. We have C.J. Hadley on the program all the time, Range Magazine.
That's true.
Details these stories in unbelievable depth and is really worth your while to subscribe. Don't even just pick up a copy, just subscribe.
Great
Range
source
Magazine.
of information.
Sam, your thoughts on this?
The other trend to look out for is remote commuting, where you have employees who are not located at the exact location of the business, but far away, but they can still work using their computers and programs and stuff like that. So something to watch out for there as well. I think that trend will take hold, not just in Nevada, but across the country.
And I have to say that within my own business, that half the people that work for me never come to the office. I mean, the majority, and it's not because I'm an unpleasant person to be around, trust me. But, but it's not necessary for them to be there, and so they're not using the roads, they're not, eating up the highway, and yet the efficiency level is at a very high level because they get to choose when they want to work and how they want to work.
Times be a-changing.
Yes, they are. Let's take a break. More with our All Pundits show when we come back.
Tamarack Junction is South Reno's hotspot with over 450 of the latest slots and video games. Sully's Sports Bar, the Dining Car Restaurant, William Hill Sportsbook, and the Tamarack Steakhouse and Lounge. We're just north of the Summit Mall in South Virginia.
How do you shed some light on a better economy? Start with growth inspired by Valley Electric Association. We're a member-owned power company that puts Nevada first, and we're doing big things, like providing prosperity by securing renewable energy projects. For Nevada, that means more jobs and more opportunities, all for a strong statewide economy. In other words, together, we're doing powerful things. Visit us at vea.coop to learn more.
Hi, I'm Eric Robnett, owner of Home Energy Experts. Has this ever happened to you?
Honey, did you remember to turn down the thermostat?
Forgetting to set the temperature? Not fun. We can help. Our new smart thermostat keeps the temperature set for your comfort all by itself.
I'm feeling hot now.
To increase your comfort, go to homeenergyexperts.com for details. That's homeenergyexperts.com.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
The Tamarack Junction Steakhouse is known for signature steaks, handcrafted cocktails, and world-class wines. Join us Thursdays and Friday nights from 4:30 to 6:30 in the Steakhouse Lounge for live music, gourmet plates, and well-priced wines, just north of the Summit Mall on South Virginia.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Back on Nevada Newsmakers, we have an all-pundit show with Sam Kumar, Dan Mason, and Joe Guild. One of the issues that is spreading, quite frankly, in the Reno area is the homeless situation. We have a huge amount of construction on the main thoroughfare of South Virginia, huge construction about to begin at Park Lane Mall, or is actually underway at Park Lane Mall and Shopper Square. And we're starting to see more and more homeless people encamping in buildings around that portion of town as you move further south out of the downtown area. Where do you see this heading, Dan? Because it's such a complex issue.
Nowhere good. Of course, we do say we don't, we want to move them out of downtown, but I don't think this is exactly what we had in mind. Listen, the homeless problem it's a classic in the sense that we keep talking about it, but nothing really changes. It seems like the more services we provide, the more homeless we have. Mm-hmm. And the goal is supposed to be to make that a smaller number. For whatever reason, we're not doing that.
Sam?
There's famous French economist J.B. Say, and he had a law which said supply creates its own demand. And that goes back to what Dan is saying. Homeless problem is very complex, like you said, Sam. Portland built an excellent program. If your program is too good, then you end up attracting more homeless people to your location. How do you have a program that's just decent enough, but still it doesn't attract people from other locations? It's not an easy problem.
Joe, and this has been the same story since I've lived in Northern Nevada. Back in the mid to late 70s, Reno's solution was to put people on buses and send them to Sacramento.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it has been a big problem. The building we're in right now used to be a ranch, and landowners would keep squatters, if you will, off of their own land. And so the problem, I don't think, it was the same problem. Along the Truckee River downtown, that's where these folks would camp. And I have a lot of compassion for some of these folks. I mean, I'm a veteran of the Vietnam War, and a lot of the people who are still in that situation, in a homeless situation, are some of my fellow vets. And so I don't know how we solve the problem and how we add compassion to the equation but they're not bad people. You know, they've had a tough thing happen to them or a bad break. Some of them are bad people. So I don't know the answer.
And you know, and the homeless can't just be put into one category, because there are people that do not want to be part of society,
right.
And they choose, even when there are services available, not to avail themselves of those services.
A lot of times that's the problem, is we want to put everyone in one category. We're making that same mistake with immigration. We have people who don't want to differentiate between legal immigration and illegal immigration. Well, there's a big difference. And there's a big difference with homeless people, those who really want and need a help up, and those who couldn't care less. We have to differentiate between the two.
Anytime you get government involved, it's going to be one size fits all, as we saw with the healthcare law. And Dan is absolutely right. There is no differentiation, and that is the nature of the public sector, and that's why we need less government, not more.
Well, you know, one of the things that absolutely shocked me last year, we were spending Thanksgiving in Berkeley, and we were traveling to Jack London Square in Oakland, and we passed by some of these homeless encampments. They are huge. There are hundreds, perhaps even as many as 1,000 people in tents in these homeless camps. And you look at that and go, this is one of the wealthiest areas in the country, and this is how people are living. I mean, we don't have that in northern Nevada, but certainly if you go down to Four Master Lane in southern Nevada, just outside of the downtown area where Channel 3 is located, you can't even drive down the street because you will be in tears seeing the people.
I was in Washington D.C. last January. In the first week of January, the highest temperature of that week that I was in Washington D.C. was like 19 degrees, and outside of the hotel, right on the sidewalk above a metro vent, was this guy's bed, and he made his bed every morning, and I saw a policeman check his area one time. I said, just curious, I'm from out of town, what are you doing? He said, well, we go around when it's really cold like this and make sure these guys are warm, or if they need to go to another place. To me, it's a problem that doesn't have an easy solution because of what these guys have just said, but we have to figure out a way to deal with it.
All right, let's take a break. More on our All Pundit show after this.
Dimitri Prine here for Design Outdoor. Come visit Design Outdoor's store and backyard to see our wide selection of fire pits, barbecues, and pizza ovens, natural stone water features and fountains, and frost-proof pottery. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at 851-9499.
Hey guys, are you watching the game at a friend's or the bar again because you can't watch at home with your wife? Or worse, because she kicked you out and kept your couch, your flat screen, and your kids? What's the one thing a man needs when he loses a good woman? A good lawyer. And when he loses a bad woman, he needs a great lawyer. What makes a good woman a bad woman? You tell me. You're the one that can't watch the game in your own home. I'm men's rights attorney Marilyn York, and I represent men in divorce, custody, and family law matters.
Hi, I'm Dave Neumann. Remember me? I used to be the house detective, and now I'm a realtor, full-time at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates. And a lot of people ask me, how's the market? You know what? It's fantastic. If you're even kicking around the idea of buying or selling, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Call me at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates and just ask for the guy who used to be the house detective, Dave Neumann.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take an Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Back on Nevada Newsmakers, we have our All Pundit show here with Dan Mason, Joe Gild, and Sam Kumar. The topic I wanted to go to next is one that we've been discussing on the show over the last couple of years, but now with the new governor, which we don't know yet because we're taping this prior to the election day. But both candidates are talking about additional money for education. Ruben Murillo, head of the NSCA, was on the program, talked about $1 billion in additional spending needed for education in the Silver State just to get it to where it needs to be, not to increase it. Do you think, Dan, that there's an appetite in the state, Democrat or Republican, for an additional $1 billion?
That much might be a bit of a stretch. Both the candidates are talking about more money for education. What's interesting to me is, at least if I understand it correctly, neither one of them's talking about a tax increase to do it. Now, if you can pull that off, wow, sign me up. I'll give that very, very serious consideration. But, you know, the crowd that says, no, you got enough money for education, we're not going to do anymore, well, they're not going to be satisfied with any of that. But if you can pull it off without raising taxes, hey, that means you're cutting spending somewhere else, which is something that should have been done a long time ago.
Joe, I know that you have a very personal connection because your wife is a teacher.
Retired teacher.
Retired teacher now.
Yeah.
But I remember in the past on the program you talked about helping her buy supplies for her classroom. There's an obvious need. Is it $1 billion need?
Boy, I'm like Dan, $1 billion. That's
a lot.
And where do you find that? You know, which rock do we kick over this time? There's clearly a need. The teachers that I know through my wife and with her colleagues are hardworking, really dedicated, wonderful people, and they need more resources. They also need more pay. They don't get paid near what they should. They're on a contract that starts at 8 in the morning and ends at 3 in the afternoon, and hey, my wife brought home 2 hours of work every night for years and years and years. I don't know where they're going to get the money. Yeah. Dan's correct. Wow.
Well, there are a couple of problems with our current education system. One is it's highly socialized. To Joe's point, we need to start rewarding teachers who are performing well and not rewarding those who are poorly performing. And two, we need to have some degree of open market where there's more competition, whether it's charter schools and even online schools, so that we can get things moving in the right direction. And when you look at it, all the conversation around schools have been around the inputs, not the outputs, not the results. It's all about how much money can we spend. We don't have enough comparison with other states. Washington, D.C. is spending about $28,000 a student, and still it's the worst in the country. We are spending, $8,000 something. So there is no clear correlation there. After a certain point, the correlation disappears. We need to start looking at results and saying, how do we improve those results, and then backtrack into funding and everything else. We're going about it the wrong way.
You know, I'm gonna kick a shibboleth. I'm gonna kick something over here. The thing nobody talks about. My wife taught all of her career in Title I schools. If you don't have family involvement in education, you don't have a successful educational system. And I'm not criticizing anybody in a Title I situation who showed up and is involved in their child's education. I'm also critical of places that are not Title I schools where parents don't participate either. But parental involvement is the key. And you can't buy that.
The most important part of that is no amount of money is going to fix that.
That's exactly right.
Well, and one of the issues is when you have a service economy where parents are forced to work two jobs.
It's a big problem.
That even with the best of intentions, I was lucky. My father worked 7 days a week, some days 2 jobs a day. My mother only worked 3 part-time days a week, and she was able to help with schooling at home. And that gave me the opportunity to learn to read and do math and other things prior to going to elementary school. But boy, to have that benefit in this kind of industry is very difficult.
And I don't mean to be critical of those folks who are working there, as hard as they do. But somehow we have to accommodate them into this system and make sure they're participating. And maybe that's where the money should get spent.
Let me do about 20 seconds apiece here, because we have marijuana that's legal now. Biggest surprise that reefer madness didn't actually occur, Dan?
Boy, I don't know where to go with that one. It's interesting. Here in Nevada, I don't think we've really got definitive answers as to the impact of this, although it has accomplished the number one thing they wanted to accomplish, and that was generate money. Let's never forget that that was the primary motivation here.
Always.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. You had the lady from the, I believe, the sheriff's office or the Reno PD who was talking about that and how she said that there's a significant degradation of quality of people and their behavior as a result of marijuana. Over time, yes, I think it'll prove itself. I think it's a net negative. It's not the responsible people I'm worried about, it's the irresponsible people, like with everything else that I'm concerned with.
Joe?
Well, I think the biggest surprise is the money part of this. I would bet that even the legislators who pushed this issue for so long and were successful in doing so are surprised at the amount of money that's been raised.
And this is just the beginning, and that's where we have to leave it. Gentlemen, thank you all so much. My only comment on this is, I've noticed there's a couple of people driving very slowly on the freeway. I drive around there. We'll be right back.
A bird's eye captures its surroundings at different heights. At Brian Kulpa Photography, we can make your imagination soar over buildings, parks, cityscapes, and beyond. Brian's images tell the story and get the job done. If you need a new perspective to tell your story, contact Brian today. Brian Kulpa Photography. Experience the bird's eye view at briankulpaphotography.com.
Hi, my name's Marilyn Miner, and I'm sure you'd agree that Nevada's a very special place to live. I was born here, and my husband and I have raised our family here. I feel it's a privilege to live and work in the Truckee Meadows. I especially enjoy helping my clients reach their real estate goals. Sometimes the smallest details provide the greatest satisfaction. I'd be complimented to talk to you about your next move.
Call Marilyn Miner at Dixon Realty, 742-1280, or log on to marilynminer.com.
St. Ives Florist, for every holiday and every special occasion. For romance. Custom home design. We have the largest selection of fresh flowers in northern Nevada, and we also offer a large selection of unique gift items. Come see me, Lori Ann, at St. Ives Florist, 700 South Wells Avenue, or call me at 333-9190.
Take a look at ProGroup Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, ProGroup can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, ProGroup moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. ProGroup Management, workers' comp that works for you.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at nevadanewsmakers.com. You can also download podcasts of the show free of charge from iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you on the next broadcast.